Thank you very much, everybody, for joining our Greenwich RTC webinar this afternoon called Reaching All Learners with iPad. So my name is Tim Lings and I'm Director of IT here at Heronsgate Primary School, and I'm joined by...
Hello, I'm Naomi Hodgson. I'm a reception teacher at Heronsgate.
Fantastic. And yeah, so we're from Heronsgate Primary School, a four-form state school in South East London. We're also an EdTech demonstrator school. So the EdTech demonstrator program is a network of schools and colleges across England who are showing good use of technology. This is a DFE funded program that offers peer-to-peer support on the effective use of technology, including remote education, although hopefully that's going to be over soon. So we're all back in schools and lockdown's going to be plain sailing from now on. But if you are interested in some peer-to-peer support on how to use technology in your school when the kids are all back as well as when they were at home, then please do just follow this link. You just Google EdTech demonstrator and you'll end up here. If you register your interest, you can then be matched up with a demonstrator school. Please feel free to put down Heronsgate as one of your options, but you can also just say whoever. Perhaps we're not quite what you need, but you are interested in some peer-to-peer support. So this is the Greenwich Apple Regional Training Centre. So there's a network of, I think, 70 or so regional training centres across the UK and Ireland. So these regional training centres deliver courses to build skills and confidence of educators using Apple technology inside and outside the classroom, as a community of who share best practice and inspire excellence through teaching with Apple technology. So today we're going to think about how we can reach all learners, and then we're going to look at accessibility on iPad with lots of live demonstrations that hopefully won't go horribly wrong, but that always adds the element of excitement to any webinar, I find. So hopefully your screen should look a little bit like this. There's a Q&A button. Please click on the Q&A at any point to ask a question and we will endeavour to answer it. There's also a raise hand button that we may or may not use later on, just to add another element of excitement and anticipation. So we're going to start off with a poll. And the poll is, how familiar are you with accessibility features on the iPad? Did you not even know there are any? Did you know that they can help, but you've not tried it? Have you tried a few? Have you explored many options, or in fact, are you someone who knows everything there is to know about iPad accessibility? So off you go. Oh, over 57% of people have answered my poll, 71%. Very good. Let's few more seconds, see if anyone else wants to answer this poll. Okay, good. I think that's enough time. Lovely. I'm just going to end that poll there and share the results with everyone. So 40% of people have tried a few accessibility features, and one person thinks that they know everything there is to know about iPad accessibility. Well, feel free to share some of your knowledge later on, but hopefully by the end of today, you will feel a little bit more confident. So now a little chance to practice the Q&A. Why don't you share a few thoughts on how technology can help learning be accessible for all? So it'd just be really great to hear your thoughts, and then we can share that with the rest of the group. So if you just click on the Q&A and post any thoughts while I clean my glasses. Let's have a look. So while I now pick on you, Naomi, any thoughts about how you think technology can help learning be accessible for all?
I think it's been really good. I think it works well for reading, just being able to enlarge things and highlight things for children who need that extra bit of support can be really good. Or I've had to play around with some of the features, and I think the magnifier feature is really good, especially for science. If you have run out of magnifying glasses to share with the class, get out the iPad and you can do some close-up observations, which really helps.
Brilliant. Okay, so Ang Harrod has just shared with us that you could read sections of web pages to pupils. Yep, brilliant, fantastic. The zoom function, the reader option for websites. Yep, perfect, fantastic. So just a few more seconds if anyone else would like to share their thoughts. Okay, lovely, fantastic. And do just share anything you would like to as we go through, and we'll endeavour to answer them. Oh, here we go. Something's just popped in. VoiceOver, excellent. So you can use that to make it talk to your iPad. We'll be looking at in a second. And speech, so the fact the iPad can speak for you. personalization for students. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so reaching all learners. So this is the idea. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to play you a little video. Hopefully will be of suitable quality over the interweb. Just all about Apple's approach to accessibility. So yeah. So I always find that a really powerful video. Just it's a bit of a shock at the end. Oh, how does that you can do that with accessibility? But I think it just shows some of the ways that technology can be used as a tool to help those who have various disabilities overcome them and do things that you'd never thought possible before. So with the iPad, there are specific accessibility features that can be really useful for certain challenges that people might face. So in terms of vision, so we're going to be looking at magnifier and voiceover. So that's if you have trouble with sight, that it can help with that. Mobility. So this is perhaps if you're physically interacting with a touchscreen, it's tricky, or you can't even touch it. There are ways that can be overcome. Hearing. So this is if the hearing is a challenge, that we're looking at type to Siri and sound recognition, which is a really fun new feature. And then cognitive ways that it can help. So Safari Reader, it just gets rid of those distractions, and guided access, again, a way that the iPad can be used to as a learning tool, and then it removes those distractions. And actually that's a feature that was developed specifically for education for children with learning difficulties, things like autism, that an iPad can be really engaging, but there's so many distractions, a way that it can be locked into one app so that students can learn that way. But what we found at Heronsgate is that although the iPad can be used to help with specific needs, there was a child with quite profound disabilities, and he had a switch to access his iPad. But actually what we found is that if there's a device for every child, technology becomes more inclusive, because rather than using technology just for children who need it, those kind of additional special needs, and so therefore the technology becomes another barrier, that this child has got to do something completely different from the rest of their peers. That if everyone's using technology, it includes them because they're doing just the same as everyone else. And actually those accessibility features that might be useful for those with specific needs, they can be helpful for any learner. And it also helps foster that independence for all students, but perhaps for those with greater needs. So we found that it's inclusive on all kinds of levels. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Naomi.
I think especially with the read out loud options, it's quite good for EAL children as well when they're learning English. The words highlighted as they're reading along, it helps to embed that knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. So there's all these ways. So a lot of these accessibility settings can be found in the settings app. So you go to settings, and now accessibility has been moved up the hierarchy. So it's literally another one of those buttons. It used to be buried in general, but now it's there for all to see. And there are lots of options to explore. And a lot of these features are built at kind of really foundational levels in the operating system and work the same on phones and iPads and Macs and watches and all these things. So there is definitely, it's part of Apple's approach to technology, that they want it to kind of improve people's lives. And there isn't kind of a great kind of financial trade-off with this for them, but they know it is important and makes a real difference. So we're going to have a look at lots of accessibility features. And at this point, I'll tap through the slides for you, Naomi, but you're going to be demoing it. So first up, we have
Magnifier. So we've got Magnifier. And Magnifier is a great app. It's on the accessibilities. You just go in and you turn Magnifier on. So if we just go through these, Tim, and then I'll show everyone. When Magnifier is turned on, if you triple press the home button, it automatically opens the app for you. It has an adjustable zoom with a slide bar, and then there's also other features in there where you can adjust the brightness, contrast, and add colour filters as well, which is really good. And you can also take a picture of what you're wanting to zoom in on to hold the image still and then zoom in, so you don't have to worry about trying to hold the iPad still and zoom at the same time. Okay. And then VoiceOver is another really good accessibility app. Again, when you turn VoiceOver on, you can change the speed on which the voice is talking to you. When it's turned on, each action is read out loud to you, and then to select it, you double tap it. And then you can use your fingers to swipe left or right to go to previous or next items. And then again, when it's turned on, if you use 3 fingers to swipe to scroll up or down. So hopefully I should be able to share my screen and show you the features. Let's see.
Look at that technology.
Hopefully you should all be able to see that.
Yeah, perfect.
So go into settings and accessibility. I've lost it already. This isn't good. There we go, on the side there. So first off is magnifier, which is the 3rd one down. We can just turn that on. And if I come out and if I triple tap, it opens up magnifier. And as you can see, I've just got a book here. You can hold it above. You can use the button on the right to zoom in or out. You can also take a photo of it to hold the image still and then zoom again, or I can add some filters. That helps me with my reading. And again, in here, you can then share, if you wanted to share that with someone, you can press the button at the top and share it into an email or just as a general image. So it works on text. And again, it can work on the images as well. You can zoom right in and get a nice close-up of some flowers there. Okay, and then voiceover. Go back into settings and voiceover's at the top.
Voiceover on, settings, Bluetooth, on, landscape.
So it tells you
home button to the right.
Tells you what's happening. And if I come off
App switcher, settings, active. Dock, Safari. Music. Double tap to open.
Double tap.
Music. What's new in Apple Music? What's new in Apple Music? Heading. Start and listen now. Explore your new home for personalized recommendations. New search experience. Find what you love with better suggestions and filtered results. Autoplay.
So again, it's just a really good
suggestions.
Turn it off and then you can hear me.
Voiceover on, voiceover off.
It's a really good app just to talk you through and guide you where you want to be. Okay.
And children do love to explore these accessibility settings, so it's always helpful to know how to get them unstuck, because they might turn on voiceover and then it completely changes how the iPad is interacted with, and they're like, well, iPad's got these strange boxes and keeps talking, and you're like, okay, it's voiceover, that's what it is, that's how you get out of it. So it's, even if you only need it for that reason, it's useful to know it's there. So onwards and upwards. Now this is a new feature that works on both a Mac and an iPad. It's called voice control. And this is actually amazing. The point of voice control is that you can control your iPad by just talking at it once it's on. So obviously that needs a little bit of thought. Well, how does that quite work? How do you say, press the this button? And the first way it works is that you can label the screen. So you either say show numbers, and it then will, every button on the screen has a little number, or show names and it labels everything. And then you just literally say tap 22 or tap, whatever the label is called. There's a little confirmation at the top and it offers a little hint. So it says, try saying this or doing this. You're like, okay, yeah. So it kind of teaches you as you use it, which is also pretty cool. And you can also say show grid, and it basically overlays the screen with a 9:9 grid. And then you can keep going and it kind of hone in. So if there's a specific part of the screen you want to tap on, it can do that using your voice. So obviously it's a little bit slower to use than just using your finger, but I guess if it means that you can be independent and you aren't able to physically interact with the iPad, that is fantastic. So we'll show that in a minute and see if it's going to work. This is a real live demo. Hopefully that's going to work. The next thing is assistive touch, which you might have seen on people's phones or iPads. Sometimes if their home button breaks, this is a great little trick, but there's a little, what's called the assistive touch button. And you tap on it and it opens a little menu, which you can customize. And that little assistive touch button can be positioned anywhere on the screen. So you tap for shortcuts to commonly use gestures or buttons, and then you can add extra gestures. But this is good if perhaps you find it a bit tricky to do that screenshot gesture, or you perhaps can't do a pinch, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's a way to interact with the device without having to kind of have that dexterity of your hands that might be a bit tricky. So again, this might even be useful for, you know, younger students if you're trying to teach them a screenshot and they just can't get the hang of it. So that, you know, try assistive touch. This will help you get past that. And yeah, so let's have a little go. So first up, I'm going to show you voice control. So I go to the settings app, accessibility, and I've got voice control. So I scroll down here. So with this, you usually have to have Siri turned on. So if Siri's not on, it might have a little bit of trouble. And there's a bit of a download at the start when it has to download all of the instructions, but I've already done that, so we don't have to do that. So you turn it on, and there's a little microphone with a cross on it that's at the top to turn blue. Okay, so we're ready to go. So I'm going to try and remember any of my controls. Show labels. This is going to be fun. So what? Let's try the practice. Okay, here we go. So let's try this. Go home. I think this isn't going to work with it plugged into an iPad. I bet if I just did it without it being plugged into Zoom, it's going to be great. But why don't I try it when you can't see what I'm doing, and then I can do that. Look, it really does work. Here we go. So here's my iPad. Open settings.
Yes.
Show labels. Show names continuously. Go home. Tap news. There we go. So it does work. It does work. But obviously when we're sharing screens as well, that's a little bit more tricky. So I'm just going to turn that off. But that's pretty cool, let's be honest. Okay, lovely. And then I was going to show you assistive touch. So if I scroll down here and I tap on where it says touch, and then I can turn on assistive touch. And then you can see here, I get my little lozenge number. But this is handy because when you tap on it, you get all these things. So for example, if you can't quite remember where you swipe up to get notification center, you do that. And so it's doing that gesture that swipe down from the top right, that maybe that's just not possible. Or control center, so swipe down from the top right. Or Siri, so perhaps you can't press and hold for Siri. I don't want Siri, but that's fine. You can go away, thank you. I can press home and it literally presses the home button for me. And there's custom ones here, so you can do a long press, or you can pinch or drag and rotate, all these things that could be tricky. Or you've got device, so here you can rotate the screen, or more, you can do a shake, or the app switcher, or screenshot, or even a restart. So there's just a whole lot of stuff on there, that all the kind of physical things that are really fun about using an iPad but could pose challenges, you can overcome them with this. So it's just really quite cool. So I'm going to turn that off so that we don't have it on our screen the whole time. And I'm going to go back to my slides. So Naomi, over to you.
So type to Siri is another really useful accessibility tool for people who have maybe issues with their speech. So again, just go into accessibility. You need to make sure that you've got Siri set up on your iPad for this one to work. And instead of saying hello to Siri, you just press and hold the home button to activate Siri, and then up pops your box, which you can then type in your request for. Yeah, so Siri can then be used to turn on other accessibility features as well. And another app is sound recognition. So again, it's within the accessibility settings. You can turn it on, and in there you can choose which sounds you want your iPad to listen out for. So it could be doorbells, car horns, maybe the dog's going to come, or someone crying. And then when your iPad hears that noise, you will have a little notification to say, we think your doorbell is going. So hopefully we'll be able to show you that. But obviously that's not to be relied on for high risk situations. It's more of a just in case, but you know, don't rely on it for your fire alarm to go off. Listen for the fire alarm first. So let's see. Okay. So if we go in here and we go to Siri, can type to Siri and come back. And if I double tap on the home button, hold down the home button, and then I can ask Siri to open Safari, and we'll do that, and we'll take you places, which is really good. And then sound recognition as well. Go in back into accessibility. Sound recognition. Once it's turned on, it's got the sounds that you want to listen out for, so you can select whatever sound you want on there, and then hopefully it should pop up with a notification when it hears that sound. So a sound has been recognised, that may be a doorbell, so then you can go and check. It's really good.
And in fact, my iPad had that turned on, listening out for a doorbell, and it also was like, a doorbell has gone. So okay. It really is quite clever listening out to those things. So if you have hearing needs, it's a way that you can, perhaps you wouldn't necessarily clock some of these sounds, but the iPad is listening for you. Again, it's pretty cool. All right, I'm just going to share my screen now. So here we go. Next, we've got just 2 more to go. So this one is Safari Reader. So this is really powerful for just generally using the internet on an iPad. So what it does is you tap here to show the reader view, and you can add navigation menus and other distracting items are removed. You can also share a PDF of the website in this view, and you can change the font and color as well. So it's just a really handy way that often websites that you want students to use have got lots of other things that might be distracting, and this is just a generally great tool working with students anyway, to just strip it back so you just got that document that they can read rather than, you know, being distracted by the web, as it were. And then guided access. This is a great little this is a great tool. So you go to settings, accessibility, guided access to turn it on. You triple press the home button to activate. So the way guided access works is it basically locks you into an app so that you can't do anything else. And what's quite nice as well, you can disable and enable extra buttons. So perhaps you don't want it so that the volume buttons don't work. So you're playing a video and you want it to stay at a certain volume, or you don't want touch to work. So it literally, even if the person taps on it, nothing happens. It's still just doing what it's meant to. So there might be really specific situations where you need that feature. Or you can even circle parts of the interface that you'd like to disable. So again, in GarageBand, a great app, but it's got all kinds of fun buttons at the top that you might be distracting, and you just want them to have a go at playing that piano. So you could remove that, and then they've just got the piano options. And then what you do is you tap the start button to begin guided access. And if you haven't already set a passcode, it will ask you to set it. So in the settings app, you can preset a passcode that only you know, or you can set it at this point. But do remember, if you forget that passcode, your iPad is stuck in guided access mode. So you have to literally wipe it to get out of it, which is useful if you don't want your student to get out of guided access. But obviously, you also can't get out of it. So just be aware of that fact when setting this up. So thankfully, it's not something that is immediately accessible, but once it's there, you can do that. So let's have a go at them. So first of all, Safari Reader. So let's go to BBC News. Oh, I already am there. Look at this. I've completely given away the game, but you know what I'm doing. So let's go to home and let's pick a nice controversial headline. Here we go. So you've got a nice news article, perhaps you want them to read, but there's lots of other stuff on the side that maybe is a bit distracting. You don't want them to read as well. So you tap on that AA button there, then you can tap Show Reader View, and it just strips out all the nonsense. And you've just got a lovely document. And you might be like, you know what, I'd like it black and white. That looks a bit better, a bit less tiring on the eyes. Then you can tap the Share button, and I'm just going to, you could print it as that, or you could save it to notes, or you could do all kinds of things. So here's an example of the print off. So it will literally print it off in that view. All of the stuff is gone. And here's a little bonus trick. If you pinch out while it's in the print preview, We have a PDF you can do whatever with. You can save it. Anyway, so a little bonus for you there, and then you just tap it again to turn it off. So that's just a really useful way to access resources on the internet. Next up, let's have a look at guided access. So we're just going to tap on, scroll to the bottom here, guided access. It's currently off. So at this point, you could put on a passcode setting. But we're going to just try and see what happens. So let's try that example. So we're in GarageBand with my song that I've been working on. So there's lots of buttons at the top. Perhaps you don't want the student to use. So I'm going to triple tap the home button. 1, 2, 3. Brings up guided access. I've already pre-circled that. But again, you can just circle the area you don't want and it turns it into a little shape. Maybe if I did a square, that's a bit better. And then I can just adjust it, fine tune it. So now everything up there won't be touchable. I want all the other stuff on. That's fine. I'm going to tap start. And my secret passcode is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, so if I forget, I can always go back on my recording and figure out what that was. Good. So now when I play it, beautiful. Now these buttons at the top, you can't see me. I am tapping them. Let me show you here. Look, they're at the top here. Nothing happens. So it's a way to kind of lock out certain parts of the display. Your student can still change it to a smooth clavinet, but they can't go on record. Maybe they want to pretend they're Stevie Wonder at this point. So lovely, great. And then to come out of it, so I'm also pressing the home button and it's telling me it's enabled so that you're not like, my iPad's broken, what's going on? You can triple click the home button and then it asks for that passcode. And then I can end it or resume it. And there we go, guided access ended. Now my iPad is in its normal form. But I must remember to turn off guided access if I don't want it on, just in case it gets accidentally triggered.
I think with guided access as well, it's quite good that you can set time limits. So if there's certain activities you want them to do and not get distracted and go off on a detour, you can set that and allocate them the time as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. So you could say, okay, we're going to do phonics for 5 minutes before something else, and they're like, they have to do that before it unlocks it. So at this point, if there's any questions, please do post it in the Q&A. And perhaps while you're thinking about that, perhaps you could also share. So if you haven't got any questions, it'd be really useful if you could just share, if you want anything you've learned about iPad accessibility features from today's webinar. Just really helpful to post that in. It's a good kind of learning thing, is to reflect on what you've learned, because that helps you remember it and take action on it moving forwards. So do feel free to post that in the Q&A and we can share that with the rest of the group. And while you're thinking about that, there are some upcoming webinars. So we've got one about GarageBand in March, and at the end of March, one about managing and deploying iPad, probably my favorite webinar of the series, let's be honest. We did miss a couple of webinars in the autumn term, so we're going to rerun them. So the first one is Explain Everything at the end of April, and there is one on Keynote at the end of May as well. And then that, I think, will be everything for the year. So any questions at this point? No, I think everyone seems to be fully answered all of your queries. So again, if you are interested in some ongoing support from the EdTech Demonstrator Program, please do register your interest there and someone will be in touch with you. So a couple of people are just sharing back some thoughts. So love the Siri reader, that's good. So yeah, Siri's got a lot of power in there if you kind of get used to all the things that it can do. That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time and I hope to see you on a future webinar. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.